Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you to Solve and Horizon for having us. The other finalists, amazing solutions, really, really fascinating to listen to. So 10 years ago, I lit millions of dollars worth of pediatric ARVs on fire. This was not an act of protest. I was working in a Central African country, and this medicine had gone to waste. The health system had found them to be too difficult to distribute, so instead they piled up, unused, and expiring with no safe waste management option. The result was a mountain of waste: wasted drugs, wasted money, and wasted packaging, with no impact and nowhere to go but up in flames. Unfortunately, this isn't unusual. Supply chains fail time and again to match supply to demand, resulting in expired, wasted product and stockouts at the exact same time, often just a few miles away from each other. Such waste is a triple negative. First, patients don't get the treatment they need despite them being available. Second, financial resources are underutilized. And finally, these avoidable inefficiencies come at a heavy, heavy climate cost, generating up to 90% of organizations' greenhouse gas emissions. From sourcing to the last mile, there are significant carbon emissions at every step of a supply chain, including production, cold chain, and transport. When that supply chain is inefficient, as many health supply chains are, the climate impact is even worse. The problem of getting the right product to the right place at the right time is even harder for rare disease. Low volumes make it too difficult or too expensive to deliver these treatments to the last mile. Those living with rare disease instead often have to travel large distances to access care and services. External research has shown that AI can be transformative for supply chain. Pendulum is an AI and machine learning company that optimizes supply chains. Our solutions learn from existing data to predict demand and allocate with precision so that resources go where they are needed with far less waste. Pendulum solutions reduce inefficiencies starting at the point of care and working upstream. When health systems have the insights needed to more precisely forecast and allocate across thousands of points of care, they can better avoid stockouts and piles of waste. Greater visibility, in turn, informs upstream supply, leading to more efficient procurement, manufacturing, and sourcing, and fewer warehouses and transport routes in between. Our tools increase accuracy and certainty even when data is scarce, such as with rare disease treatments. With increased confidence of what to allocate, where, and when, health systems are better able to stock these low-volume commodities down to the last mile. Pendulum's tools have been rolled out globally with top partners across industries. Our team includes some of the world's top AI and machine learning scientists and engineers from MIT to Nairobi, as well as deep experience in supply chain and global health. We know that supply chain contributes to climate change. We also know that supply chains are inefficient, particularly in health. While we continue to advance climate science, we need to embrace AI as a fast, effective tool for streamlining supply chain and reducing emissions. With the help of MIT Solve and Horizon, we want to put numbers against our climate impact to study and quantify how intelligent optimization reduces emissions at every step of the supply chain. By scaling solutions like Pendulum's, we can put all available resources to their most efficient and effective use to deliver care sustainably. Thank you.
All right, judges. Edda, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And again, I would say congratulations. You've made it this far. That's a win for me as far as I'm concerned, for all of you. My question would be, in the rare disease space, most of the time, treatments, you would need to zone into individuals. It's not uncommon for rare diseases. So how do you see your solution working that out to assist especially the healthcare systems?
Absolutely, and that's a very important question. We look at supply chains at every level of a supply chain, from the consumption to the supply to the availability of commodities, healthcare workers, services, but also behavior of patients and individuals themselves. So we also do a lot of work on predicting demand for services and being able to precision match that demand to hyperlocalized populations who may be at risk or not of rare disease. There's a lot of great work being done right now to map the prevalence of rare disease. A lot of that data is available, and we can work with that data to then map where those services may or may not be available, and then map and understand what the behaviors of those populations are likely to be, looking at proxy data we can use from other diseases in the area or other health data that's available.
Vikram.
Would you just mind going back to that one slide that had the carbon emissions and every step of the supply chain?
Maybe. But my clicker's not working. Oh, there we go.
There you go, that one.
Yeah.
So if you map out the emissions across this, where do you find the most amount of emissions or waste?
I would love to be able to answer that. Right now, I suspect it's probably in sourcing and producing. But part of the reason we're here is we really want to be able to get those numbers. We want to understand where not only the greatest emissions are, but where the greatest opportunity to reduce those emissions is. And that's a really important distinction, because we may be able to identify along the supply chain like a low-hanging fruit. Where can we work quickly to reduce emissions now? And where do we need to do more work, more research to understand how we can bring those emissions down?
Especially when you map that specifically for rare disease,
Yes.
you might find patterns that might be different than larger other disease state
Yeah,
areas.
precisely, yeah.
Rohit.
So we could just stay on this slide since it's here, but it's interesting that post-pandemic, you've seen that supply chain, particularly around cold chain aspects, retail strategies for just-in-time has always erred on the side of stock out rather than surplus.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in rare diseases and the critical factor of getting a certain type of treatment to the right patient, we can't afford to have stock out rather than, and at the same time, supply chain, whether it's through shipping or other factors, comes into play. Does this sort of help sort of glue that together? And do you see that there is this sweet spot that comes in play?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we build into our models is the ability to turn a dial according to various constraints that a customer, an end user, would select. That can include waste reduction. It can include increasing access. It can include population coverage. It could be time available, money, profit, if you're a for-profit company as well. So when the model runs, the first thing we do is we will optimize for precision, and then we will speak with the end users and ask to understand better from them, what do you need to optimize for? I'd also say that it's not either or. And that's the beauty of AI, is that you can start to find a balance. And you don't need to have low waste, but high stock outs, or vice versa. It actually doesn't have to be that. What we're trying to do, like I say, is optimize for that precision, knowing that that's not always going to be possible, and then tilting in the right direction based on what our customer needs.
All right, so we have time for one last question. Durhan.
I'm just really, we love obviously the concept of what you got. Can you just give some specific examples of who your customers are and what geographic areas or countries that you really feel this is the most effective?
Yeah, so we work with governments. We work directly with governments. We've worked with governments in Sierra Leone, DRC, Cote d'Ivoire, Tanzania, Nigeria, Mozambique, and others I won't list all. Also in the US, we have a lot of work in the US with hospitals in the healthcare industry, national security, and we work with relief organizations. So companies and organizations who are working to get things to places, to people as quickly as possible. And for them, it means you have to have the stock available to be able to move it quickly to the places it needs to be. One example of that is a disaster relief logistics company. They need to make sure that care and treatment is not interrupted for everyone who's affected by a disaster. That includes people with rare treatments, with rare diseases who require very specific treatments. And if you no longer have logistics to get to a place, to find those people, to even know where those people are, let alone have the product available, that becomes life-threatening for those people. And so they need to make sure they have that specific stock on hand for an unknown event that may we don't know when it's going to happen, but we can work very quickly with them to locate where it is and to locate the best logistic routes to get it to those people or to bring those people to it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jenny.